So, next part related to analysis, design and development of knowledge management system. We have just talked about infrastructure part, that how to create a technology infrastructure, and then how using these 7 layer systems we can create an efficient system, so that you are able to transfer and share knowledge with the end users, which could be used by them for productive purposes. Now, the next thing that we are going to discuss is related to knowledge audit. So, here what we are going to discuss the various concepts related to knowledge audit, how it is done and how it is going to be useful for design and development purpose, because you have to see that what kind of knowledge goes on into the system is very important. So, what you have to do here is that when I am talking about knowledge audit, why you go for auditing the knowledge? See, there are certain regions that could be possible for knowledge auditing, like see, you need to create a blueprint for the knowledge management architecture. So, you need to decide and ascertain what kind of knowledge we are going to have there. So, you are going to have the kind of knowledge which is consistent, have a quality, is accurate, which is valid, which could be applied in a relevant context, right, and that is why we go for auditing the knowledge, so that only the right kind of knowledge is put into the system. So, you need to derive a strategy, a knowledge based strategy for the purpose, so that it becomes a people asset, because unless you have knowledge, you cannot leverage based on knowledge. And in today's world, the only advantage that you have, through which you can have a competitive advantage, is through knowledge, and this knowledge is related to the people, and this knowledge is where is resides in the mind of the people, and that is where you go for transforming this tacit into explicit. So, you have to find out that the knowledge that is captured, codified and is going to be put into the system is really good. It is an asset that could be used by the people to solve the problems, to see that it is going to help you to achieve competitive advantage, because you are living in a knowledge intensive world, and you cannot move ahead unless you have the kind of knowledge that is required, because it is far ahead from the learning curve. In learning curve, what happens? An individual moves to a learning curve, and then at an optimal position the learning gets saturated. Beyond that, there is not going to be new learning. So, this knowledge which is available there is going to help you to perform your job effectively, and you move or go ahead or move up in the learning curve. Otherwise, you get saturated once you move to the optimum point. So, it helps you to stretch your capacity to perform beyond your learning ability, and that is why you need to ensure that the kind of knowledge that is available is really an asset in terms of its quality, consistency and relevance, so that it helps you to achieve competitive advantage, and that is why we need to audit the knowledge. Now, when it comes to auditing, you have to see that how the knowledge is growing. So, they need to understand first the kind of knowledge that they have. So, here we are going to use certain frameworks which is provided by Bone to find out that where you stand in terms of your firm's knowledge. So, you can ascertain this is the knowledge base that your company has. Now, what we are going to discuss these frameworks which is provided by Bone related to the knowledge growth. Now, if you look at this stages of knowledge growth, he identified it into incremental stages, that is starting with complete ignorance to the complete knowledge, right. And at each stage, if you look at it, the typical form of knowledge is different. Like in a complete knowledge, you have everything, but at the ignorance stage, you do not have anything, you do not have any information. So, complete ignorance means there is no knowledge, knowledge does not exist at all. Then at the second stage, you become aware about it, means yes, the knowledge is there in the mind, it is basically tacit. Then you measure it, it is paratechnical, it means that it is primarily written. So, it is not available either in a very explicit form or tacit form. Then you control the mean. So, you apply a specific method, and then it is written and embodied in hardware. So, you are using certain technology to ensure that this tacit is transformed into explicit. Then you have the next stage, you move to the process capability. That is, yes, now you have explicit knowledge in form of hardware, manuals, processes, guidelines, okay, and then you see whether it is going good or not. Okay. So, you measure it to see that how it is going to help you to do your job, and then at the next stage of this knowledge growth, you want to know that why you are going to do it. You have methodologies, formulas, algorithms and other kind of knowledge, but you want to know the extent to which it is going to be useful and relevant in your case. And finally, once you come to know that why you are going to make use of it, you move to the next stage, that is what we call attainment of full knowledge, that is what we call nirvana. Okay. It means you are in a complete knowledge, full knowledge state, though it does not happen because there is a cycle, the new knowledge comes and then again you become ignored, okay, and then you move on this cycle. So, probably though we all hope to move to that stage that is called nirvana, but usually it rarely happens because it is not possible to reach to that stage, because you never achieve perfection so far as knowledge is concerned, and that is why you move into that cycle to try more and more, but you never reach to that stages. Okay. Now, if you look at these different stages moving from stage 1 to stage 8, that is from complete ignorance to complete knowledge. Now, if you look at the different stages of knowledge from the earlier slide, like from complete ignorance to complete knowledge, and then you also see that different characteristics of knowledge work and processes on these stages. You can see like nature of production. Okay. You move from an expertise to procedure based. Okay. Workers, at the first few stages you do not have any role to play, then you try to solve the problem and then try to move up in the learning curve, right. Location, you move especially from tacit to written and oral form, then it moves to KM system, that is databases or softwares. When it comes to problem solving, at the first stage you do not know anything, so you try to adopt trial and error approach, then you gradually move to scientific method, and then you look at the KM system, because there you have the relevant knowledge which can help you to solve the problem. Now, if you look at the organization type, expertise based knowledge is available in organic structures. Organic structures are those structures, or those organizations have organic structures which are very, very flexible, okay, which empower their employees, right. That is which are more creative and innovative compared to mechanistic systems, which are very, very bureaucratic and rigid systems. Okay. And then you move to become a learning organization. So, learning organization is the latest buzzword which talks about it, and it says that these are those organizations which continuously improve and innovate themselves. Okay. So, starting with organic form, then you move to mechanistic form, and then try to become a learning organization, so that you continuously improve and innovate yourself in order to remain competitive, right. What kind of automation is required? See, in the first phase we are fully there is no automation, but as you move up in the stages, you try to be as much automation as possible, right. And then easy of transfer, actually in the first few stages it is very easy, but as you move in the hierarchy it becomes very, very difficult. Now, if you look at product variety, of course it is high, but again it becomes low, and then as you move in the hierarchy become your learning organization, so again it is high. Quality, of course, there is not much quality to start with, then when you use a scientific approach you move towards statistical quality control, process control, and then you have a system where you come to know real time information, you have feed forward or feedback system through which you come to know that how it is working. So, now if you look at different stages of knowledge, what happens to the production workers, okay, and how you solve problem in case of different organizations. So, when it comes to knowledge growth, you can actually measure the intellectual dimensions, okay, and that starts where your company's initial standing is, what is the current knowledge base, what is your competitors standing, what is their knowledge base, what is your company's progress along this scale, okay, and what steps and directions you are taking in order to move up on that particular scale, so that you are able to compete with your organization. Now, if you look at this from total ignorance to what you call the other stages, see what happens. first stage what happens, it is not clear to you. Second stage, okay, basically you move to trial and error approach, okay, you do the same thing again, okay, and try to see that something happens. Most of the knowledge is tacit. In the third stage what happens, you move from tacit to explicit, okay, experts walk in, then you try to see that this tacit form is transformed into explicit form, okay. You try to find out patterns, relationships and these kind of things, then you try to measure it and see that you are going to decide what is important, what is less important, try to look into the patterns, okay, and finally you try to control the things, okay. So you have things in the written format. Then moving up in the hierarchy, if you look at your stand for your company, and similarly you can also look at your competitors also, look at your process capability, okay, how you process the things, whether you go for record keeping, okay, and whether you have statistical processing and these kind of things. And similarly if you look at process characterization, again you go for a trade off to reduce cost, to improve quality and do all kind of things, okay. Now at this stage, since knowledge is well documented, what you need to do, you have to see that how we are going to make use of this knowledge, okay. And work processes are mostly automated or mechanized, okay, and you have well established methodology to do work, and you have to see that how it is going to help you. And then next stage, when you know why it is happening, basically then probably you are trying to document whatever knowledge that is available either in explicit form or tacit form, and you try to build softwares and hardwares to ensure that it is done properly, right. Then last stage, basically complete knowledge, though it does not happen, you do not need knowledge management or managers anything like that, because it becomes very natural for the perform for either the groups or the organizations, okay. The only thing is that you have to see that yes, you are trying to reach to this stage, but most of the cases what happens, if you look at these stages, you only move up to the 7th stage, not to the 8th stage, because that is not possible. Now when it comes to audit, we know that knowledge is actually moving from tacit to explicit. It means that it is an art to start with, and then you move to become a science, right. So to start with, an organization basically depends on a tacit knowledge, and then it try to make it as explicit as possible. So when a company does it, so what happens in the beginning, you have fewer rules and regulations, right. People talk to face, but the company expands and grows, what happens, you try to set up rules and regulations, you try to have written forms, regulations, right. For example, a new company, you do not have a HR structure, but if in a big company you have formalized HR structure, right. So you are moving from a very tacit stage to a very explicit stage, because in a big organization it is not possible to manage the system unless everything is very explicit, and then managing this, basically having this kind of system is basically a science, so that you can manage it well. And that is why it is said that you are moving from art to science. Then coming to knowledge audit team, so that is very important, because if you are going for identifying that what is your company's stand, so far as knowledge base is concerned, you have to create a team of people who are going to do this job, okay. And then you can have people from different areas, okay, from the top management, those who are looking into the strategy of the organization, people have senior management people. You can also include HR managers, marketers, IT people, or those who are working in the knowledge management, right. So you can have a good combination of these people, because each one has an important role, because corporate strategists would be able to find out the big picture, like, and senior management is going to see that okay, how they are going to adopt the strategy. Then HR managers, since they deal with the people, they have to identify that who are the experts, who is going to do it, okay, they are going to create teams, okay. So they have a role in these kind of things. Then marketers, because you need to market these products and services, so you have to see that okay, the kind of knowledge that is required for that. And then you have IT people, because they are going to provide the infrastructure, and then you have knowledge analysts, because they are going to capture, codify the knowledge, right. So these kind of people are relevant in the sense that you must have representative from these areas if you want to have a good knowledge management system. Now moving further, you have to go for a audit. It means you have to have a rationale written down, that why you want to do it, what kind of performance you want to achieve, okay, what is your current level of performance, what kind of knowledge assets you have, what kind of knowledge assets should be required. Okay. So, you have should write it in a very explicit form. So, when you are going to conduct this knowledge audit, you must define the goal. What is the goal of this audit? What is the current state? What is the ideal state that you want to go for? How will you audit about it? How you are going to document the existing knowledge that is available with the organization? How you are going to track the knowledge growth that has happened over a period of time? And then you are going to see that how populated capability quadrants is that, okay, how the knowledge is moving from one place to another place, and that is where we are going to discuss some more thing related to this. Okay. Now, first part, that is defining the goal. When you think about the goal, basically you have to see that what exactly you want to achieve by having a knowledge management system. It could be very quantified, very specific, or qualitative as well, right. For example, you want to increase profit by certain percentage, I want to reduce the cost of the sales, I want to improve quality, or you want to improve product, have good product features, or you want to reduce customers by certain percentage within a given frame of time, or you want to have a good project turnaround. Okay. So, you have to identify that what is the purpose for which this knowledge management exercise is going to be taken, especially related to the audit. Okay. So, in what way it is going to help you. Okay. So, the first phase, basically if you look at this, we are going to define the goals of the knowledge audit, and then you have to see what is the financial and other constraints. So, this is basically the beginning of the knowledge audit, and that is where you are going to define it, the first stage. Then you move to the next stage, that ideal stage. Okay. At this stage, you need to develop a consensus among the team members that, okay, this is what we need to reach. Okay. So, if you look at this picture, you can see, okay, whether you would be able to achieve it or not. So, this is what in order to achieve this, you must see that, okay, the team must be agreeing to this. Okay, this is what we can do it. So, you build up scenario, okay, and look at your KM initiatives through which you will be able to reach it. Okay. So, you have to see that what is the best thing that for you to do in terms of knowledge. Okay. So, the knowledge asset that is available with you, how you are going to create value out of it, okay, and how you are going to see that the efforts that you are going to put in knowledge management system, okay, and how you are going to benchmark it. Okay. These are the issues related to this one. So, basically here we are talking about assigning high desirability values, right, and this is related to, see, look at your competitors rank, how will you measure against it, what is the industry standards, okay, what is the best profit figures on the sales that you can achieve. So, this is the ideal state that you want to achieve at the next level. Then the next stage we are going to move this, see, this is the customer response speed, this is the time, this is one example. So, this is how you want to move. So, your target is this, and this is the time period, okay, and the first quarter you have achieved this much, but you want your target is this, right. So, your knowledge management initiatives begin here, and then you want to move to this target in the second, third, and the next quarter. So, this is the benchmark or the standard or optimized value that is to be achieved by you. Okay. So, your knowledge management initiative must help you to achieve to this level, right, within a given time frame, right. Then you have to, the third stage you are going to select the audit method. When I am talking about selecting the audit method, you have to see that how you are going to do it. Okay. So, it could be based on employee know-how or what you call the reputation of the organization, or you also look into the culture of the organization, right. So, if you want to audit the company's knowledge base, okay, and what is your current knowledge state, okay, it is very important to understand what people know in your organization, what is their competence or knowledge base or skill, what is the reputation of the organization, and what kind of culture exists in the organization. So, when you are talking about selecting the audit methods, basically there are two issues: select audit methods and select aspects of the audit. So, you are going to use certain assessment tools that is given, and based on these assessment tools you can go for auditing it, right. Then the next stage we are moving to what we call documenting the knowledge assets. When I am talking about documenting knowledge assets, you have to see that how the knowledge is going to be documented. Okay. Now, there could be different frameworks that could be used for documentation. Okay. So, you have to decide which framework is to be used for documenting the knowledge assets. Okay. Now, when I am talking about documenting knowledge assets, you have to see that okay, how we are going to measure the value of the knowledge vis-a-vis the value that this knowledge has or the corresponding values for your competitors. So, what you have to do, you have to see that what is the value of your knowledge and what is the value of your competitors knowledge. But how you are going to decide about the knowledge assets or the value of the knowledge that you have. Okay. It means that you have to use certain accounting methods to in order to identify or quantify the knowledge base, right. Knowledge base, and for that what you can do, you can use intellectual capital index. That is one way that we can look at it, right, because intellectual capital of an organization talks about the intellectual capital of an organization which consists of knowledge which is available not only with the people, but it also talks about assets related which is embedded with the organization in its relationship and its infrastructure, right. So, when I am talking about knowledge assets, which it basically is the company knowledge asset, right. Then you have to use these frameworks to find out where do you stand so far as the intellectual asset is concerned compared to the intellectual asset of your competitors. That is very, very important. Okay. See how we are going to use certain frameworks, right. So, see if you look at some of these things, this talks about the intellectual capital, that is basically what? This is the capital of the organization, this is the infrastructure capital, a capital related to the organization. Okay. So, you have different kind of capital, functional capital, regulatory capital, positional capital, or other kind of capital. So, these like patents, trademarks, trade secrets, licenses, proprietary technologies, databases, this is a form of the intellectual capital, right. Similarly, the processes and other things, okay, customer base, market shares, product reputation, these kind of things, this is also a kind of capital for the organization. Then kind of culture or relationship that you have, then the kind of processes that you have, functional capability, how you perform certain things, right, that is related to the knowledge and skill base. So, basically it talks about the intellectual capital, okay, in different form that is available related to the organization. Okay. So, you can use this capability framework where you can identify the capitals associated with the organization, people, relationship, and in its infrastructure. And okay, so if you are going to calculate it, you can find out what your position with reference to knowledge assets, your current knowledge assets vis-a-vis the knowledge assets of your competitors, and then you can see whether it is going to help you to achieve competitive advantage or not. Okay. So, it is very, very important to use this capability framework to identify, basically to compare the value of your intellectual capital as compared to your competitors, right. Then there are certain questions that can be asked, okay, in order to identify the knowledge, especially when you are using these bone stages, 8 stages, right. And you can use it in order to find out at which stage of knowledge the organization is, right. For example, if you say that you have only tacit knowledge which is of personal knowledge, then it means that you are stage 2. Suppose you say that you are stage 4, it means that exists in explicated form, but actually nobody uses it. Okay, you have a very good library, you have all kind of things, but people don't use it. So, the knowledge is available in explicit form, the only thing is that you are not using it, right. So, these are the different stages, and that is how you can diagnose at which stage of knowledge you are. Then the next is that yes, you have to track knowledge growth for a period of time. At the first stage, once you are able to find out where do you stand so far as knowledge asset is concerned, then you have to see what is happening to this knowledge, okay, whether it is appreciating or not. Okay. That is your intellectual capital base, whether it is appreciating or depreciating over a period of time, okay, which include your structural capital, infrastructure, resources, human capital, and relational capital. So, you have to see whether this capital base is appreciating over a period of time or not. If it is appreciating, it means that your intellectual capital base is appreciating. If it is not, then you cannot see that you cannot say that it is improving. So, if you want to track knowledge growth over a period of time, you have to see that what is the current stake, then you have to find out whether it is increasing or not. And in order to identify whether it is increasing or not, what you need to do is measure the intellectual capital. Okay. So, you need to quantify using certain indexes, so that you can see whether it is increasing or not. Next, you also need to ensure whether it is increasing on a regular basis or not. Okay. So, the knowledge is not stuck, that is very, very important. Okay. Say for example, you have to say that if in terms of R&D output, whether the number of patents, number of publications, the number of innovations that is done by an institution is increasing over a period of time or not. Suppose in a particular period it has gone up, but again there is a lull, again it is increasing. It means there is a gap in this, which shows that it is not continuously increasing. So, knowledge base is not continuously increasing. So, you have to see that it is continuously increasing. Let me give an example. Say for example, 3M. 3M is a company which is top on the innovation index. Now, if you look at the number of patents and the trademarks which they have, every year it is going up, which shows that their innovation capacity is very, very high, and if you look at the intellectual capital base, that is the best, right. So, it shows that yes, their knowledge is best, their knowledge capital and intellectual capital is appreciating over a period of time, okay, and it is continuously increasing. Okay. And whatever knowledge base they have, are you making use of it or not? That is very, very important. Even if you have a knowledge resource, if you do not make use of it, what is the point of having a knowledge resource? You may be having a well stocked library, but nobody is going to use it, right. You have a KM system, but nobody is interested to research or retrieve information for doing things. Then what is the use of it? It means if these things are there, then it means that you are not interested in using it. Okay. And then you have to ensure that people must recognize the value of this resource, knowledge resource, because knowledge is the only resource which is going to provide you competitive advantage. So, make sure that people understand the value of knowledge and try to make use of it. Okay. So, how we are going to do it? Yes, you have to see that what is the durability, whether it is going to decline over a period of time, okay. How, whether knowledge can be imitated, modeled by others. Okay. See, knowledge is a resource which is very difficult to imitate and copy, right. But the similar knowledge can be also created by other organizations. For example, one bank which created ATM to start with, right. So, it provided them a competitive advantage. Now, this was a knowledge asset for that particular organization, but it is not going to be a knowledge asset for that organization, because now all banks are using ATMs. So, it has created level playing field, right. It means it has the value of this knowledge has declined over a period of time, okay, because others have been able to identify and copy this resource, knowledge resource. So, they are also going to make use of the same resource, which does not provide you a competitive advantage, right. Then can the competition easily nurture and grow this knowledge? You have to see. Now, you are providing a ATM machine, but they have moved beyond this, and they are going to provide other kind of services using ATM. It means that they have moved beyond the ATM, right. Then you have to see that yes, which aspect of competition is being leveraged, or which you can leverage, but you are not able to do it. Okay. Then can you imitate the knowledge that is available with other organizations, or whether there is a need to do go for it? Can this knowledge walk out of the door? It means the experts or the expertise or the resource that is located is going to be out. Suppose people leave your organization because you are not able to manage the talent. The expertise is leaving your organization. It means what happens? The knowledge or the expert that is there is walking out of the door. It is no longer with you, so you cannot make use of it. And the nature of knowledge is also changing over a period of time. So, you need to ensure that only relevant knowledge is there, and then you are able to make use of it. Then how will your company need it after it, whether this knowledge will be relevant again after say 5 years or 10 years or not, may not be relevant. So, you need to create new knowledge and put it, right. So, these are some of the issues related to what you call tracking growth and over a period of time, so far as knowledge is concerned. Now, the last part that we are going to discuss is related to strategic position within the technology framework. When it comes to mapping knowledge, okay, you have to see that there could be different stages of knowledge added, right. We will discuss about a figure where I will talk about different quadrants, okay, which is going to provide insight that how KM and business can be kept in perfect synchronization, right. So, you have to see that you have to determine your strategic position. and competitive advantage which you possess as a firm, okay, in terms of whether it is explicit knowledge or tacit knowledge, right. Whether it is in the people's head or it is in the databases or it is the experiences within the available in the electronic forms or whether it is available with the KM system. So, when I am going to discuss about the strategic positioning within the technology framework, see there these are 4 positional choices, right. Now, I am going to discuss first the 4 positional choices and then I will come back to this slide. Now, if you look at these strategic positions, okay. Now, if you look at these triangles, it talks about codified knowledge and this is the tacit knowledge, low to high and this is also low to high. Okay. Now, if you look at these green shaded positions, that is strategic position A and strategic position B, right. Here you have competitive advantage because you are high on either your tacit knowledge or competitive knowledge. Now, if you look at this part, you can say that you have a better strategic position because you have high codified knowledge as well as high tacit knowledge, but again this also provides you a strategic position or a competitive advantage because you are high on what you call codified or explicit knowledge, but in this case you are high on both explicit as well as tacit knowledge, right. If you look at this, it is externally accessible, okay, right, and internally safe, but and this is also externally safe and internally accessible. Now, if you look at these positions, right, suppose your tacit knowledge is low and your codified knowledge is low, right, then you do not get any competitive advantage, right. Now, if you look at static position D, you get some advantage because your tacit knowledge is high. So, it does not provide you good competitive advantage because tacit knowledge is with the people, unless it is transformed by other people are ready to use or able to use, you do not get a strategic position. Now, if you look at this, we have been talking about, okay, it means shaded areas indicate a highly competitive advantage area where your knowledge is already well managed, but can possibly be improved, these areas, right. Then right cell in the matrix represent 2 quadrants where KM holds the most promise for producing groundbreaking results. So, these are the right cells, right, because tacit cells are very important, right. Then you look at the strategic position. So, strategic position A, this one, what does it talk about? Your company is internally safe, but externally vulnerable on this front because what you have is more codified knowledge, but less tacit knowledge, right. If you look at strategic position B, that your company has managed to explicate some portion of its knowledge, however, there is a relatively small percentage of what your company has managed to explicate, right. So, your strategic position B. So, externally safe, but internally what you are assailable, right. Strategic position C is a weak position because you have no strategic advantage because see you are low on both tacit knowledge as well as codified knowledge, right. And D, it could be desirable in the sense though it does not provide you a competitive advantage, but you are very high on tacit knowledge, right. So, when I am saying desirable, you are successful, you need to manage knowledge, but you get only temporary advantage because it is not going to help you to have a sustainable competitive advantage. The reason is that you have only tacit knowledge, not explicit knowledge or codified knowledge, right. So, ideally you should be here, but this is also okay. This is where you have codified knowledge, but it may not help you in the long run. So, the best thing is that you should be here, that is where you are going to have competitive advantage. So, when I am talking about the 4 positioning choices, it is always important to see where you stand vis-a-vis codified and tacit knowledge, right, because you need to have both in order to have competitive advantage, right. I think that is all. Okay, thank you.